I'm about to review Star Wars The Force Awakens, and to do so, I'm going to need to discuss things like characters, motivations, story details, and even one particular red herring from the trailers, but I won't be revealing what many might consider to be major plot revelations or twists. The reason I'm going to discuss things like characters, motivations, story details, and even one particular red herring from the trailers being, of course, that regardless of the brand it carries, reviewing a movie with no context in fear of spoiling stuff often winds us up with a pretty fucking boring video. And since this is a Star Wars movie where anything I say about it might be considered spoiler territory, I'm opting to just not bother playing the game. Besides, you really don't need me to tell you to go see it, you've already made up your minds. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and stick a mild spoiler warning right here. But for those of you that would solely like to know whether it's worth it or not, it's good. Really good. Expectedly and forgivingly doesn't quite reach what the originals did, still leagues better than these, really well cast, a lot of fun, genuinely heartfelt, and overall just a rollicking ride of swashbuckling galactic adventure with surprisingly complex new characters and some welcomed old faces. Go see it with a big crowd and have fun. Now for the review. Yeah, it's really good. I'm gonna have to watch it at least once more before officially declaring so, but it might be even kinda great. Despite all the tedious build-up, Star Wars The Force Awakens is a totally solid blockbuster that somehow, even though it seemed possibly plagued at first by constant fan appeasement a la a returning cast that had aged considerably, a push to make sure every prequel hater knew they were going with practical effects this time round, and a script rewrite not long after pre-production began by director JJ Abrams and co-writer Lawrence Kasdan, manages to be both a return to form in its direction, aesthetic, and overall feel as a Star Wars movie, and a rejuvenation of the series I, at least, never knew that I wanted, with brilliantly well-written new characters, and the same kind of electric fiery dose of adrenaline that informed Abrams' previous franchise revivals, Star Trek 2009 and Mission Impossible 3. It's hard to imagine that there won't be certain fans out there that set their standards a little too high and hope this had reached the level of the original classics, therein making The Force Awakens its biggest hardship that it will most likely be negatively compared to 3 films which outright changed the goddamn landscape of blockbuster cinema, but when it comes to playing by the movie's terms and what it's setting out to achieve, from where I sit, the main goal of a Star Wars film is to provide adventure, thrills, and provoke the sensibilities of your 10-year-old self playing with toys and wanting to fly the Millennium Falcon. This is designed to turn you into a kid once again, and from where I sit, this knocks it out of the park in that regard. It was almost a sure thing that this was going to be enjoyable, and holy shit is The Force Awakens an entertaining ride, but for episode 7 to turn around and actually be not just fun and energetic, but layered, at times subversive, and genuinely thoughtful, heartfelt even, yeah, I'd say this is a reason to be on the movie's side. Our story sees us years after the defeat of the Empire, out of which has grown the First Order, led by big baddie Kylo Ren, which seeks to rise from the ashes and re-establish its grip on the galaxy using what the movie calls Starkiller Base, a planet converted into a super weapon capable of destroying whole star systems. But after Oscar Isaac as X-Wing pilot Poe Dameron stores valuable information inside his droid BB-8, the little round orange robot soon meets Daisy Ridley's Rey, a scavenger living on the planet of Jakku for reasons largely unknown, where the two are soon also joined by John Boyega's Finn, a rogue stormtrooper who's recently escaped the First Order's clutches in search of, well, safety from the First Order. With the bad guys now on their tail, together they run into a world they can't begin to imagine the size of. On this adventure they meet Han Solo and Chewbacca, who help clue them in on what's going on, and help them realise their skills and good-willed personas might just be what they need to help restore peace to the galaxy once and for all. If the plot sounds a little familiar to you, villains looking for a particular droid with important data that could single-handedly play a role in either side's success, starting the story mainly on a desert planet, a big spherical weapon they have to try and destroy, etc., that's because it's meant to be. The goal of episode 7 right from the start is very clearly to give you something brand new, but at the same time sprinkle in some of the old familiar stuff so that the transition is all the sweeter. It's a handover to a new generation that story-wise wants to shoot off of the same launching pad that the originals did back in 1977. Maybe that's okay. While Force Awakens' long list of to-dos never stops it from being fun and involving, it does make it feel at times like a necessary evil. While I don't think it was essential to feature a returning cast because the film actually holds up perfectly fine with its brand new characters, it's clearly their way of trying to give every type of fan, both old and new, a little bit of something, jumping at the chance to give us nostalgia goggles with references and similar plot points and moments to the original trilogy early on in this one, feels less like pandering and more like getting it all out of the way now so that we don't have to spend the upcoming sequels doing more of the same, and introducing a lot of characters and themes with the clear intention of paying them off in future installments can't help but come off as Abrams and company knowingly allowing Episode 7 to be the notably imperfect first film of a new trilogy designed mainly to get you back into this universe so that the next one can delve further into a newer, fresher plot and satisfy all the nuances and subtleties established in this one further, just like the time a certain empire struck back in 1980. That may be giving props where there is none to give just yet, but I'm willing to hold off on getting overly concerned with it until we see where it's all going. Personally, I feel there's plenty new here for us to sink our teeth into to excuse all that anyway. The first hour, which sees Finn and Rey trip and stumble their way into this story that is far bigger than themselves, and do it all in this reminiscently innocent and naive way, feels all at once like a nice homage to Luke Skywalker from the first, but also acts as a good storytelling device to get anyone new to the Star Wars mythos caught up on all the important details. But what most surprises me about The Force Awakens is its central players, namely Rey, Finn, and Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, all of whom are incredibly layered, each with their own complexities that stunned the hell out of me. These are amazing characters and I'm completely invested in their stories. What I especially appreciated was a particular red herring from what's implied in the trailers. Part of the excitement of seeing the narrative unfold is realising what roles these characters will ultimately play in the story of this new trilogy, and while the promotion gave off a different impression entirely, there's a brilliant idea that's never actually referenced out loud, involving John Boyega's Finn, and the rest of the audience for that matter, thinking that he's meant to be the big Jedi hero of the film, but where every time he picks up the lightsaber, the movie finds a way to make him look really awkward with it, mainly from his lack in having any Force sensitivity. If they went any further with it, the immediate reference point would be Big Trouble in Little China Kurt Russell, but it never quite feels as if he's being made a fool out of, more that we're watching him figure out just what kind of person he is as the adventure unfolds. If you want an analogy, he's trying on a suit that doesn't quite fit, yet it's there that the character's genuine likability comes out. It's all in his heart and his drive to help in any way that he can, even if that does mean picking up a weapon and awkwardly pretending to be someone he's just not destined to be as long as he can protect his friends. It's fun to see play out and incredibly rewarding once the movie turns around to reveal who the Jedi title is actually being reserved for. And while I'm sure some might complain about the road Kylo Ren's character goes down, I f***ing loved it. In fact, his whole character is so wonderfully well realised that once him and another player have what I can only best describe as a force-off, an arm wrestle of the minds, and some revealing character stuff comes to light as a result, you might just get chills. But Daisy Ridley steals the show as Rey. She's the absolute heart and soul of this movie, and like Boyega, is an instant star in the making with her endearing performance and involving journey as a character. The script is really funny as well. If you were one of those viewers nodding off as the monotone lines drove you to a good night's rest during the prequels, you'll be incredibly relieved to learn that the dialogue and character interactions here are back to their witty, bantering selves. If The Force Awakens does have any issues, I'd actually say it's some of the cinematography and direction choices. Abrams makes the whole thing tonally work spectacularly well. He's a perfect fit for this franchise and gets the spaceship dogfights and running sequences dead on, but his tendency to shoot in medium close-up during close encounter action scenes between characters does feel incredibly intrusive. This becomes especially noticeable during lightsaber duels. Oh come on, you knew there was going to be one at least. The emotions are there driving the scenes, and I'm so thankful we've moved away from the overly choreographed 20-minute dance-offs, but there are hardly any long shots allowing us to see these characters head to toe or beyond 3 seconds. The close-up photography and rapid editing means we keep cutting from shot to shot right up in their personal spaces as they swing these swords around, and it can simply make the sequences really hard to follow. I also found myself craving more still shots overall. Abrams loves making the camera move in these dynamic ways, a panning shot here, a zoom there, and that definitely has its place and never becomes nauseating, but with this crew having chocked every frame full of such fantastic creature designs, visual effects and sets, sometimes it's nice to just take a breath, pull the camera back, allow the shot to go on for a bit and let us soak it all in. The screenplay also has a bit of a heavy reliance on coincidence in terms of plot devices or characters bumping into each other, but that doesn't surprise me much since that's also very much present in the Trek movies. Luckily, however, as opposed to that franchise, Star Wars is one of the few that can get away with this let's not over-explain things, just go with it mentality. For instance, if you're looking forward to finding out how Anakin/Luke Skywalker's lightsaber manages to feature in this film, when the last time we saw it was when Luke's hand got cut off and it fell God knows how far on Cloud City, the film's explanation is quite literally, who cares, it's here, that's the important part, and swiftly moves right along. That kinda bugs me, but when I think about it, yeah, how interesting could that story have actually been? Speaking of lightsabers, it's great to finally see, after so many years, a return to emphasizing how much the Force is what gives the Jedi his or her power and not the damn swords they carry. Hell, Finn's aforementioned awkwardness with the weapon says it all. Seeing a character slowly but surely get a grasp on this ability simply from feeling that energy around them and realizing that they can control it if they have the focus and the will to is tremendous stuff and practically telegraphs a giant f*** you to the whole midichlorians concept. Overall, while The Force Awakens does have its flaws, as any movie does, let's not forget, regardless of the title, this is just a movie at the end of the day, it still just gets it. The Force Awakens is exciting, it's moving, it's magical, it's tragic, it's funny, it's incredibly enjoyable. Star Wars is back with a new kind of energy it hasn't really had before, and that aesthetic feels both appropriately different and familiar, as if we're returning to this universe but viewing it through a different window. And while I expected the screenplay to ham-fistedly spoon-feed all the rules and character stuff to me, Force Awakens shockingly respects its audience to the degree that it isn't afraid to simply leave us to figure things out from what we see on screen. Thank the maker, Star Wars has subtlety and nuance once again. I can't say that I needed this film, or any of the others that will follow for that matter, to complete my Star Wars experience, but if any of them turn out to be half as enjoyable, moving and sincere as Episode 7, damn are we in for a treat. And I personally can't wait to see where these characters find themselves in the upcoming sequels. What can I say? You guys did it. Well done. Cheers for watching, guys, and as always, if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel.